Here's my story and trying to find anyone who has had the same encounters. When I was around 5 years old, I was desperate to have a sleepover in my brother's room because my older two brothers were in there. They were going to stay up, watch cartoons like Power Rangers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and most likely watch a film and eat snacks. My brother told me a hard no. I started to cry, and my mom came upstairs to see what was going on. As I ran to my mom, time slowed right down. It felt like it froze. In front of my brother's bedroom door, standing right in front of him, was a diamond white, gold light that was growing larger. I felt static electricity flow through my body. As I turned back to my mom, time sped up again, and the light disappeared. My brother suddenly said I could have a sleepover in his room, but I was so petrified by what I had encountered that I didn't want to go. I stayed with my mom and dad that night. Fast forward 2 years, when I was 7 years old, I went to stay at my grandparents' house for the weekend. When going to bed at roughly 9 p.m. that night, I couldn't sleep, most likely due to the fact that I wasn't in my own home and bed. I had the bedroom lights and the landing light on because I was scared of the dark. As I was trying to get comfortable and go to sleep, I needed to use the bathroom. As I got out of bed, the bright diamond light appeared again, once again right in front of the doorway. The light got bigger as I moved closer to it, and the static electricity flowed through my body again. But this time, I saw a female figure within that diamond light, which was roughly 1.5 meters away from me. She spoke in my head, "Don't be afraid." I ran through it, opened the door, and ran straight downstairs, sobbing to my grandparents, who rang my parents to come and collect me. Fast forward 25 years later. I now have a family, a wife and 2 beautiful girls. One morning, around 6:30 a.m., I was having breakfast with my family when my 4-year-old said, "Dad, what's that in the sky?" My wife and I looked out of our patio doors and peeked up at the sky. To our astonishment, there was a black, saucer-shaped object hovering in the sky. It was about the length of a bus and roughly 400 to 500 meters above ground level. I ran outside with my phone to take photos and videos. What happened next frustrated me. My phone, which had over 50% battery, died. I told my wife to grab her phone, but hers had died too. Another thing I noticed was the eerie silence. My house is situated near woodlands, so every morning and evening, you can always hear the birds singing. But on this morning, there wasn't a single chirp or song. It was an eerie silence I cannot describe unless you experience it yourself. The craft was slowly moving up and down, and suddenly it vanished into the clouds. As soon as it disappeared, there was an enormous roar of sound from the birds, as if every bird had woken up at once. It was quite literally deafening. I still talk to my daughter about this today. She is now 8 years old and remembers it very well. My wife, however, doesn't like to talk about it, especially in public settings, as she's a teacher. My daughter has also said she's seen an egg-eyed man in her room. She now sleeps with the light on. She doesn't know what an alien looks like, but she described it as smaller than her, with freckly white skin and black, egg-shaped eyes. I asked her when she saw him, but she goes quiet and doesn't tell me. She just says, "That's why I sleep with the light on now." My younger daughter, who is 4, had also been wetting the bed at night, saying there was a little boy in her room. This happened just before my eldest started sleeping with the light on. I have a terrible feeling that they are being taken at night. I have obviously not told my wife because she would think I'm going mad. Thankfully, the bedwetting has stopped now, and my eldest is sleeping without the main light on, just a bed light. But I am honestly sure this won't be the last I hear of this. I needed to tell someone what was going on to get it off my chest, because every time I mention it, people think I'm crazy. But I'm not. This is what has actually happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last time for me or my family. Has anyone else had the diamond light experience as a child? Or has anyone else had their kids describing things they shouldn't know about? The last 24 hours or so I've been seeing the same woman standing nearby or peeking around a corner. It started at work today, but I chalked it up to a customer that was near me and just left quickly. But when it happened twice again at home and it was the same woman, about my height, long, straight, dark hair, white, think the Vivian from Legally Blonde, but her hair was slightly longer, so now I'm not sure. I'm heavy on paranormal stuff but never experienced more than sounds or odd occurrences. Never a full body apparition, despite always wanting to. The only other thing I'm thinking is I haven't gotten much sleep the last few days, so maybe I'm low-key hallucinating from lack of sleep. I don't know, just wanted some insight. Thanks. I used to live in an old house in Colorado when I was a baby, but my parents and sister have told me stories of balls rolling across the floor randomly, sound of footsteps, boots specifically, in the basement, and I used to cry and refuse to sleep upstairs. My dog was also too afraid to go upstairs and would sit at the end of the steps staring at nothing for hours. My dad also woke up in the middle of the night to the feeling and visible indent of someone sat at the end of the bed, then he heard it whistling. We then moved to Texas, and would have more unusual stuff happen, such as my toys going off, cabinets opening and closing, and my dad started having sleep paralysis. He's from Panama, and in his culture they believe sleep paralysis is demonic, so my mom covered the whole staircase in religious crosses, and after that my dad never had sleep paralysis again. We then moved to our current house now, which was Native American grounds back in the day. I was probably 11 or 12 when I was sent to my room cause I got in trouble for something. My bed was against the wall and my door was halfway open when it just randomly started shaking. More things have happened over the span of a couple years, such as seeing shadow figures in the hallway my bedroom is in, seen by me, my mom and my dad, objects moving, random unexplained lights, ringing in my ear a lot. The two that have stuck with me the most is once I was walking out my hallway to leave for school when I heard quiet feet pattering behind me, and I thought it was my mom cause she always sneaks up on me and scares me, but when I turned and saw nothing I immediately called for her and she was in her office on the other side of the house. Another time, I was in my kitchen when I saw a hand on the lower part of the wall like something was peeking at me in the small hallway to the pantry. I also always hear my mom saying my name in my room when I wouldn't be able to hear her and she wasn't around, and once I was in the living room when I heard her voice saying okay I in a sigh behind me, but she was on the other side of the house again. My mom has felt a hand on her shoulder when showering, and I've also once felt a touch on my shoulder when laid on my side in bed, in the pitch dark, and I also wake up with unexplained bruises on my ankles. 4 years ago I was washing my hands in my bathroom after doing a project to keep my mind off of the pandemic. As I was washing my hands I look up to my bathroom mirror and I see this girl. The girl in my mirror had long hair and a dress that was very outdated. I couldn't really see her face either. It wasn't until after I shut off my bathroom light and left I realized she was there, so I quickly turned around and realized she was gone, and then I screamed and ran into my room, then my mom's. I quickly explained to my mom what I saw. She quickly explained how my grandma used to have an imaginary friend who I described the same exact way of how my grandma saw her. To this day I've never seen her ever since. Both of my sons have seen the same figure now. When my 7-year-old was between 2 to 3, he related that he kept seeing a man with claws in his bedroom. He was very hesitant to tell us about it, and a number of times came crying in our room, at that time directly across the hall from his, in the pre-dawn hours, saying that this figure was too scary. He called it Mr. Snips Snips. He never saw the figure after turning 3, and my wife and I attributed it to childhood night terrors. In 2022, we had our second son. He and his brother now sleep in our old bedroom, while we sleep in a new bedroom across the house. Our 7-year-old's room is now a playroom for them. Just this morning, my 2-year-old woke up and said that he saw a big man in the bathroom. He wasn't outwardly scared of it, but I could tell he doesn't like talking about him. Just a few minutes ago, he said something about the figure and I asked him what this man looked like. He told me that the big man had cat hands, claws. This is almost exactly what his brother described when he was my youngest age. I'm starting to think that Mr. Snips Snips isn't just a childhood nightmare. The only difference is that my 2-year-old is seeing him in the bathroom rather than the playroom/former bedroom. Has anyone else's kids ever seen the same figure? Just curious.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile...
Like, share, subscribe and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Green Text Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.